tonight to renew our thoughts, to renew our minds, and have a faith in God and working with Christ today and always, and so be it.
So be it.
We're going to see the video, what is animism? Many times when we are working, whether it's mediumship, whether it's in classes, many times we get confused what is animism. So it's very important for us to understand what it is. So I'm gonna show a video so it will help us a little bit to understand, because it's very much part of what is mediumship.
Much of what happens in our lives. Now imagine that you also believe that there are some people among us who know how to communicate with the spiritual side of the natural world. Those who are able to communicate in this way can then impact what happens for the rest of us as a result. In this lesson, you'll learn the basic characteristics of worldviews known as animism and shamanism. You'll also better understand the controversies surrounding the labels anthropologists use to describe those who practice these beliefs. Animism is a way of looking at the world in which natural elements have special spiritual significance and importance. Some describe the tradition as the belief that everything around us has a soul. The practice of animism goes beyond one school of thought in a single region. Instead, these beliefs are expressed differently depending on the particular culture and people who hold this worldview in their community. For instance, Shinto, a religion originating in Japan, incorporates animist beliefs. Yet not everyone who holds animist beliefs will be part of this religion of Shinto. Different groups of people, particularly those who are indigenous to an area, have established their own practices and approaches to this spirit world. You can remember the term animism by thinking of animals, which are an important part of the natural world that animists honor. So is animism a religion? There's debate about this topic. Animism is certainly widespread enough in the world to be considered a major school of thought. The beliefs of animism have been practiced longer than many other religions in existence. Yet it's also practiced in distinct and culturally specific ways. This means that it would be inappropriate to try to define one set of common beliefs to all of the people who hold this worldview. In addition, many who identify with animist views would describe this way of looking at the world as interconnected with everyday life, rather than a religion or spiritual practice that's separate from typical activities. Many cultures that have animist beliefs also have a special role for a human being who can communicate with the spirit world. This person may have visions or may enter altered states of consciousness, like being in a trance. They may also perform other duties in society alongside their spiritual role. Anthropologists have historically labeled this person a shaman. The first use of this term came from the Evenks, indigenous people of northern Russia. Since then, the label of shaman has come to refer more broadly to those who engage in the activities mentioned earlier, such as having visions and entering altered states of consciousness to connect with the unseen world. Some differentiate strongly between shamans and other spiritual healers and mediums. Others describe shamanism as encompassing a wide range of approaches. As a result, shamanism has come to describe the tradition of having a person in the role of communicator with a vast spirit world. Not all anthropologists agree on how and when to use the terms animism and shamanism. Some find it useful to have these categories that help them describe those who seem to have characteristics in common. Others don't like using these broad terms to describe practices from around the world that they see as quite diverse. Modern anthropologists have healthy debates at times to determine which labels are appropriate and which are not. They aim to prevent the mislabeling of groups of people and practices. This mislabeling based on one's own cultural assumptions was a tendency of earlier anthropologists. This can still be a challenge for present-day researchers, even though they try to avoid this pitfall. Animism is a way of looking at the world in which natural elements have special spiritual significance and importance, such as plants, animals, and objects like rocks. Human beings who have passed on may be part of this spiritual world. Animist beliefs are expressed differently depending on the particular culture and people. The worldview of animism tends to be interconnected with everyday life, and there's debate about whether to categorize it as a religion. The term shamanism is often used to describe the tradition of having a person in the role of communicator with a vast spirit world. Anthropologists have historically described a shaman as a person who may have visions or may enter altered states of consciousness. They may also perform other duties in society alongside their spiritual role. There is controversy about the use of such terms since not all cultures practice animism or shamanism in a uniform way. Healthy debate among anthropologists allows researchers to consider these questions in depth.
Is everyone comfortable with this video? Would you like to see it again? How do you guys feel?
I just caught a little bit of it. Looks good.
So it's okay if I put the video again so Lisa can see it?
No problem.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Think about the natural world as you know it. Plants, animals, rocks, the weather, and human beings. Now imagine there are parts of this natural world that you believe live at a different spiritual level than you and me. In this view, loved ones who have died and other spirits may also live at this level, even though we cannot see them. These sacred life forms are believed to influence much of what happens in our lives. Now imagine that you also believe that there are some people among us who know how to communicate with the spiritual side of the natural world. Those who are able to communicate in this way can then impact what happens for the rest of us as a result. In this lesson, you'll learn the basic characteristics of worldviews known as animism and shamanism. You'll also better understand the controversies surrounding the labels anthropologists use to describe those who practice these beliefs. Animism is a way of looking at the world in which natural elements have special spiritual significance and importance. Some describe the tradition as the belief that everything around us has a soul. The practice of animism goes beyond one school of thought in a single region. Instead, these beliefs are expressed differently depending on the particular culture and people who hold this worldview in their community. For instance, Shinto, a religion originating in Japan, incorporates animist beliefs. Yet not everyone who holds animist beliefs will be part of this religion of Shinto. Different groups of people, particularly those who are indigenous to an area, have established their own practices and approaches to this spirit world. You can remember the term animism by thinking of animals, which are an important part of the natural world that animists honor. So is animism a religion? There's debate about this topic. Animism is certainly widespread enough in the world to be considered a major school of thought. The beliefs of animism have been practiced longer than many other religions in existence. Yet it's also practiced in distinct and culturally specific ways. This means that it would be inappropriate to try to define one set of common beliefs to all of the people who hold this worldview. In addition, many who identify with animist views would describe this way of looking at the world as interconnected with everyday life, rather than a religion or spiritual practice that's separate from typical activities. Many cultures that have animist beliefs also have a special role for a human being who can communicate with the spirit world. This person may have visions or may enter altered states of consciousness, like being in a trance. They may also perform other duties in society alongside their spiritual role. Anthropologists have historically labeled this person a shaman. The first use of this term came from the Evenks, indigenous people of northern Russia. Since then, the label of shaman has come to refer more broadly to those who engage in the activities mentioned earlier, such as having visions and entering altered states of consciousness to connect with the unseen world. Some differentiate strongly between shamans and other spiritual healers and mediums. Others describe shamanism as encompassing a wide range of approaches. As a result, shamanism has come to describe the tradition of having a person in the role of communicator with a vast spirit world. Not all anthropologists agree on how and when to use the terms animism and shamanism. Some find it useful to have these categories that help them describe those who seem to have characteristics in common. Others don't like using these broad terms to describe practices from around the world that they see as quite diverse. Modern anthropologists have healthy debates at times to determine which labels are appropriate and which are not. They aim to prevent the mislabeling of groups of people and practices. This mislabeling based on one's own cultural assumptions was a tendency of earlier anthropologists. This can still be a challenge for present-day researchers, even though they try to avoid this pitfall. Animism is a way of looking at the world in which natural elements have special spiritual significance and importance, such as plants, animals, and objects like rocks. Human beings who have passed on may be part of this spiritual world. Animist beliefs are expressed differently depending on the particular culture and people. The worldview of animism tends to be interconnected with everyday life, and there's debate about whether to categorize it as a religion. The term shamanism is often used to describe the tradition of having a person in the role of communicator with a vast spirit world. Anthropologists have historically described a shaman as a person who may have visions or may enter altered states of consciousness. They may also perform other duties in society alongside their spiritual role. There is controversy about the use of such terms since not all cultures practice animism or shamanism in a uniform way. Healthy debate among anthropologists allows researchers to consider these questions in depth.
Excellent. The reason we decide to see this video today is because animism also talking about what is the passes? Also talking about the existence of the soul or the spirit. And shamanism between the indigenous population, it's very common, whether it's Northern Indians or South American Indians. The existence of the spirit for them is something normal. It's something that they live by, such as they do have communications with the spirits in order to have some requests. For example, medicines for those who are sick, or ask for rain in the times when the crops is not has a possibility to die because it's too much sun, or when someone dies. So in the shamanism, it's very common, the communication with the spirits. in animism, it's important for us to understand that we are animism soul because we animate our soul. It's animate, we are animates beings when whether we are incarnates or disincarnates. In the fact that they consider that plants, animals have a soul, its soul is maybe is not in the level of a human soul because they are different kingdom, but also in the essences of life and existence and progress, such as plants are considered to be asexual reproduction. So it's not even asexual, it's considered more like that is sexual reproduction. In looking this way makes a lot of sense that each kingdom in life has its degree of soul. Again, is not considered to be yet a spirit, perhaps maybe quintessential, maybe monad. We don't know yet how to qualify it because we do not have a vocabulary or understanding over this topic, but it's already important for us to understand that science has take great understand about the existence of the soul. Even though it's not yet opened about it, but they do understand, especially in a level of in the field of anthropology, some in psychology has accepted, but not yet opened to that existence, such as Carl Jung, for example. He said that psychology is the science of the soul. So why I'm bringing it to the classes of passes? It's for us to understand that giving a passes is a real connection, contact with the spirit realm. More we have material that we see that not just spiritism, but also other fields like science, accept the existence of it, will help us to become more comfortable with this life way. So a way of life. So always remind ourselves it's okay to connect it with the spirit realm in order to do service, to serve others, to help and guide them. So always remind ourselves that mediumship passes is the same as mediumship. Therefore, it demands study for those who are willing to give passes at the center, and also to be committed to do good, because as we have this understanding, the existence of the spirit, um, we no longer have excuse to make it to ourselves. Well, that is not other life. Just live this life the way I want, and that's it. So that's the reason that I brought more resource for us to understand a little bit more. So continue. Remember that last week we practiced the passes, and we did not have the opportunity to discussion how felt you receiving these passes. Did you guys remember, Michael, when you received the passes, or whether you were praying for others who were receiving and giving the passes? Can you share how did you feel at the moment? Did you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I remember on both sides, it was just very calm. I just remember being very calm and very peaceful. I didn't feel anything, I didn't feel anything different. I would imagine, like, I didn't feel like any energy or any, um, I didn't feel like I was contacted by anybody or being touched by anybody. I just, honestly, I just felt like very calm.
Excellent. Which is that is the uh, that is the reason of a passes, because usually those who comes for treatment comes for the same reason, to feel little break, whether it's from the obsession or the physical uh, disease that they may have. Is the moment that the spirit realm are with us, our guardian angel, which we are surrounded with so much positive energy. So we feel the sensation of relief and peace and calmness and connectedness with one another, and also the spirit realm as well. Um,
Yeah, I would also say, I mean, with the studies that we've been doing together, with my personal studies, um, just things are, and with all the stuff that happened in my life over the last 2 to 5 years, um, I'm seriously just not phased by anything, and I'm able, like, no matter what, like, I get, like everybody, you get bad news pretty frequently. Something in business goes wrong, or you lose a customer, or you lose a client. You talk to a friend and you find out that their daughter has anorexia and had to go to a hospital, or you're dealing with a lot of bad things constantly. But I feel like I'm not phased by anything anymore, and I'm able to just not react to what anybody's saying or react to the situation. I'm able to respond and help the situation better.
Thank you, God, for that. And it's looked like, Michael, that we are surrounded by those how I say, we are surrounded by those situations around us, right? But the reality is those situations have been around us for a long time, but we were many times so numb that we didn't feel the pain of others, or we didn't have compassionate through what our neighbor were going through.
Well,
And
well, just in a Jefferson, I think, especially for the people that that I talk to. I mean, I get pretty close with everybody, whether it's in a business context or a personal context. I would, typically though, I'd become too empathetic to where I would feel their pain and not be able to do anything about it, because you can't help somebody if you're feeling their pain. Whereas if you can just, I think what I've learned, and is, if you can just see the situation for, it's not label it as good or bad, but
yeah,
just what somebody's going through, and everybody goes through it. And then, if there is reincarnation, and if you are having to, if things all do work out, as long as you put the work in, then helping those, it's easier to help other people, because you're not it's getting rid of the fear of what's going to happen, to these people or to myself or to the business or to, somebody's health. You can just help as opposed to worry.
Yes, this point that you brought, that you become more aware the pain of others, the sorrows of others, it's because uh, uh, I must say that Spiritism brings us a great length of reality, because we are constant talk about the present times. We are constant talk about the suffering and the pain. So we become more aware of the situation and as other, because we work into our own experiences of ourselves. It's the fact that we become apathetic towards those, empathetic about those who are going through a challenge and difficult times, is the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
And understand what the person's going through, and think, if I myself feel this way just to hearing what this person's going through, can you imagine how this person feel? That is the first perception. And the second perception is uh, take a deep breath and remind ourselves that God is in control over everything. And what I can do for help at this moment for those who are in this situation is send them a prayer, so they may have the resource that they need to going through for this situation. That is the best thing that you can give, that you can do at this moment, as we get accustomed to have this habit to send the prayers, and many times even talk to the spirit who are going through. So it's more people showing up in your life in this way. The reason being is because we are servants of God. So, in other words, Jesus account on us to give others some sense of reality and peace, and understand that nothing will happen without God's permission. Of course, that we should not be accommodated and waiting for things to resolve itself. We know that doesn't happen. What's the we do our part in when the situation is with us, whether it is look for resources like that, studying, uh, looking for help. And also when it comes to others, if you don't have nothing to tell them at the moment, just to be silent and listen to them and offer our presence to them so they can feel safe. You know that a real person there listen to them is a great relief, because nowadays, as we all know, many of us are in fast pace, so they many times says, how are you doing, but they're really not willing to hear how you feel, um, how things are with you, because they are uh, to the next thing that's happened. And have someone that is present and be able to offer them a shoulder to cry, or just to listen, which is a great gift, is a huge help for the father or the mother, the brother, sisters who are going through difficult, challenging. So that's meaning it's the ability to love others, we love ourselves. Uh, how so? To know that how wonderful would it be if I am in this situation and I can have someone that I can talk and let my heart to be a little bit softer. So because in the end of the day, this is also charity. Be able to listen to others, be able to be next to someone and be friends is a form of fraternity. give a hug for those who are in pain, physically, emotional, mental, is also acts of charity. So it's important for us to remind ourselves that everything that we do with love and have our mind that we wanted the best for this person, certainly this person received the benefit of encouragement, even though those words do not come from our mouth. Just the fact we are present to the person.
Yeah, I like that part about being present, because I'll give you a real life example. So where I wasn't present and I wasn't strong enough, and I wish at that time I had the faith-based system that we're talking about, because so when my mother was dying, we knew she was dying, and instead of me being able to help her and be there with her and present with her and pray for her and hold her hand longer, and I was so consumed with my own grief
Mhm.
that I couldn't provide any service to her in the fashion that I believe she deserved. And as I reflect on it, as I wish that I wish I could have, but had I been able to be in hopefully a place that I'm now, or the next time I'll be in the place that I'm there, I won't be so selfish, or I'll be more knowledgeable in that, hey, listen, she's going to move on. I need to be present for her and help her transition be as smoothly as possible. I need to pray with her. And it's not about me. It's just about she's going to be okay. And I just need to do my part right now, as opposed to being overwhelmed with sadness.
Well, the importance of this experience was something that you learn. You not keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
So, and usually we learn from those who we love the most. Why I didn't do that? Why I didn't do this? But at the moment, we must forgive ourselves. We didn't have it to give it. So we cannot give it what we do not have it. So what's important for you to go through that situation, for you to understand that you didn't have to give to her, therefore you could not be present or hold her hands. As we mature ourselves, get more understand the existence of life and reincarnation, and it's become more intrinsic to our soul, I would say that it's not that we will not hurt when our loved ones depart. Absolutely, we hurt the memories and everything, but we will have more strength to be by their side. We will have more strength in not allowed ourselves to be consumed of sadness for a great length of time. So everything is about we learn from our past or present.
Well,
The mo-
I'll give you a real example of that too. So you actually mentioned, so when my son passed away, right? That was pretty much on the heels of my mom passing away. Now, again, I went through that grief period again, but there was something that we talked about in class, that if I didn't let him go and I was obsessing over his death and I was so sad about his death, that he would stay with me and he wouldn't be, that possibly I could impede his progress about moving on.
yeah,
So the thing that I could do is love, and I always wanted to be a good father. So the way I could be a good father in that moment was to just let him know that I loved him, just let him know that I'm going to be okay. And that love, that statement and that learning helped me be able to just do the right thing as a father, that I could do something and I wasn't powerless. And that completely took me out of grief into empowerment.
yes, exactly. It's that is what we call unconditional love. It's not about ourselves, but about of us. the ability to let ones that we love go for the sake of this person healthy, whatever is the condition, whether is depart from here to the spirit realm or depart from one country to another. So we are allowing ourselves to understand that it's hurts, but I need to let it go for the sake and the benefits of others. So it's not easy, does not make easy, but make little bit um, understanding that
Honestly, but I'm going to be honest with you. It was very easy. I mean, yeah, it was very easy for me because I love that boy to death. So for me, it was like, I'm not going to, if there's a chance that I'm holding this kid back from,
yeah,
he's going to be with, there's no friggin' way. And honestly, it was a very wonderful thing because I don't, I'm so grateful for that learning because it not only freed him, hopefully, but it freed me.
exactly, that is the best expression. Freedom, freedom of both, which is unconditional love, the ability to let it go to the sake and benefits of others, right?
Yeah.
So so and as we progressing towards the past, so you understand that that's the spirit benefactor, the past givers, and the patients. We call the patients those who are receiving the passes, and remind ourselves that all of us receive the passes at the center, whether it is the pass giver or the receiver. So we continue receiving because it's healing for our soul. So it's not, when we say patience, not in negative way. It's in the sense that we all are patients because we are all learning. We are all healing our souls. First moment, cleanse and remove the negative energy of the patients. So as we did, and we're gonna do it again because in the next time when we all be together, always remember that cleansing the patient is in our mind. It's we, when we use our hands, we push down the energy. Like, let me see if I can do here. Like, we are put our hands up like that, and then when we push down behind us. So again, go up and push down behind us. That is a form of cleansing to remove the negative energy. And when we put the hands after our body, it's an imagination that we have a bucket and a floor, and the negative energy is there, and the spirit realm, the spirits come and take the bucket away, the bucket away.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if it's related to this per se, but I have been experiencing very odd behavior from my family regarding my father's passing. And one of the things is that my uncle keeps remembering and reflecting on like a very small negative thing about him that happened like decades earlier. And in that time, he like overcame that little tiny problem. It was really small. It was he had some financial trouble, and he went to my mother's father, who he's very close with, and he had asked for some money um, for the benefit of his children, me and my sister. But he stabilized himself, and then there's a reason I'm telling you this. He stabilized himself. Stabilized himself, and then he gave so much back, like 10 times the amount back in so many ways, not just monetarily, but he would like give free babysitting like every day to my sister. And if you think about that, that's a lot of money, you know, and just gave everything he could give, right? And my question, now that you know that, is that what do we do and how do we handle the dishonoring of the deceased that can't, I mean, are we supposed to just let it go in God's head? Like, what do I do? Like, I feel like I want to say something, but not nasty, just clear. But what do I do? I just don't know. In the spiritual realm, I don't know what the right thing is to do for my dad. Is it important to say something? Is it not important to say something? Like, I don't know. I just don't think that's a nice way to honor the deceased. He's my father.
Now, I'm hearing you, and I understand
Yeah,
what we come from. The ones that we love, even though when they are wrong for whatever reason, whatever they have done, we feel that is not necessary to continuing the argument, to continue to bring back the past,
right.
especially with the fact that the one that we love is not physically present to
Right.
defend themselves. At this moment, when someone do not have a good memory of the ones that we love, we just pray for them. We pray
Okay.
for the person who is accusing, uh,
Okay.
and we pray for also in the case for your father. Your
Right. That's what I was asking. We pray for him.
yeah,
And why would we do that? What's that? What that how does that serve us? So serve him.
and we can ask, we can ask God to watch over and talk to him like he is in here present. A prayer like talk, that it's very sad that he thinks this way, but we know that that is not the truth. So please do not be upset because of this situation. Uh,
Saying this to my dad,
to your
talking to my dad.
daddy, you know,
Okay, because it can it hurt him? I guess my question is, can it hurt him?
yeah, you can like talk to him in a senses
Yeah.
of prayer, and also can ask
He's
God.
so sensitive. He was such a sensitive, sweet person. I don't want him hurt. I don't want him hurt. It's
Yeah,
no way. That's
yes.
terrible.
We can
Yeah.
also ask God and Jesus, especially Jesus, to hold
Okay.
them, in the best regard, and always remind ourselves that and also pray for the one who is makes the accusations, because
Okay.
many times it's many reason that's the person feel that way. Sometimes it's
Right.
jealousy. It's many
But
reasons.
this is all going on while I'm grieving. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my goodness, like where's this? You know, I still need a small semblance of support, you know? So thank God for this. But, you know, it's wow, you know, thank God I found you
Well,
guys.
And
Ducey, let me ask this question. So would it be, I mean, how I would handle this,
Okay.
would be to talk to the person that's saying the negative things.
Okay.
And Ducey, I want to hear what you have to say about this, because this is what I would do. And I would
Okay.
just say, listen, this is a very tough time for all of us. We're all grieving. To hear what you're saying is
And he
truly hurting me. It's hurting,
repeatedly.
right? Right.
Yeah,
So it's truly hurting me, but I think more importantly, it's hurting my father, because
that's what I was afraid of.
he doesn't want to hear any of this, and
No.
he did everything he could to make it better, as you
Right.
know, and
yeah,
Uh-huh.
he did the best he could. So can we just please leave it there? Can we just respect him and leave it there? And just
Yeah.
and then if they say yes to that, great. If they say no to that, say okay, we
No, I don't
disagree.
I
But
don't think I don't think he'd say no. He's not mean. I think there's some sort of weird trauma thing with it. Like or maybe it's because my grandfather, his father, um, really, my father was I mean, I'm not gonna. I love my grandfather. I love my grandmother. Okay, they. I understand they had. He was in the war. He was a POW in the war, and he came back very disturbed, which was obvious, you know. And then what happened was, um, he would drink, and then he'd get like somewhat abusive to the family. And then my grandmother couldn't take it anymore. She abandoned her kids and stuff. So there's a lot of like pain and suffering that went on at the hands of his mother and father, even though his father took him in and they got very close and maybe made amends. I feel like there's some pain with his own family and he's transferring it to my dad. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I don't think he's being mean or evil. I think there's just something deeply there, but it does need to stop. I
Yeah.
don't, it hurts me, but more importantly, you talk about my father, and I don't want him to feel bad in the after. I mean, my goodness, he's going through this major transition, and we don't really understand what it's like until we go there. And it's a little scary, you know, I'm not gonna lie. And I don't want anything to hurt him. I want it to go smooth, and for his, you know, I just don't want him to be hurt in any way. Like
Uh,
you said about your son, you know.
Yes, Lisa, you also can talk to him and you can imagine that he is present. You can actually talk to your uncle, you know, to
Hmm.
his spirit and tell him how much it's hurt. And when he does that, you know,
Right.
you, you can
Okay.
you can
Yeah,
pray
because he is
for
a
him.
caring person, but I don't, maybe he doesn't realize he's saying things. I feel like he doesn't even know what he's doing, like, you know?
Sometimes
Yeah,
people, they do not filter what they say for many
yeah,
reasons, and that can be quite hurtful, even though sometimes they don't perceive it to be
right,
so. Prior, if you feel that talk to him would be a positive thing, prior to do actually do it physically, telling him that face to face, would be
okay,
first like pray for him so he comes to the awareness that is not appropriate to have this behavior. And also
right,
remind all
okay,
of us that none of us are in position to judge anyone. None
right,
of us, because
exactly, none of us.
right, not all of
We all
us,
have our
right? We
flaws,
all
yeah,
have our
yeah,
shortfall,
our shortcomings, yeah,
shortcut, and we all have our faults, you know. So none of us. So many times when we find ourselves or watching someone doing that, a prayer it's really a positive for both,
okay,
for the father and the uncle. But
right,
also the position, the example that Michael just said, also is a very good one too. If you feel that your uncle are able to hold a conversation with, peacefully without aggravation, then
yeah, it's possible, yeah,
mhm. So
yeah,
if you feel that is possible, then it's definitely what Mike said is a very good way to go. So that way he might understand that it's hurtful to hear such thing. And you know,
yeah,
it's
for me too. I mean, I'm his niece, you know what I'm saying?
yes,
I'm his niece. This is, I've just really met so much inappropriate, like it's unbelievable. I always imagined, I guess, in my life that, you know, when you lose like a nuclear family member, like a mother, a father, or a sibling, that would be like the time most people would make sure you're okay, meaning me, or, you know, or a child, and I, you know, a nuclear family, you know, the nuclear family. And it's just like, wow. I mean,
what you can do
it's
tonight, today, we are
yeah,
all of send a prayer for your uncle, for your father, for the whole family. So
mhm,
the prayer, all of us together, certainly will help as well. Towards the end of our meeting, we do a prayer for your family. So
okay,
your father can um, have this transition more peacefully, right?
Yeah, it's so fresh. It hasn't even been a year, and it's like, oh my goodness, and I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and I'm thinking, sometimes I feel like he's not gone, and maybe he's not because he's so protective. He's so protective, but maybe he wants to go, and maybe this is part of it, and it's like making me feel emotional, but I understand, you know?
Yeah,
I
and
still feel his presence very much, and like maybe he has to like move further away, and so this is making me very like emotional, but I appreciate it. Thank you for your both of your opinions and insights.
all right, let's go to the second part. Second moment, application of restore energy. So the same process, calmly, we put our hand down and we going to and go over the chakras of the person. We never touch the person. It's not necessary. For many reasons, we cannot touch the person. First reason is not necessary because the transfusion of the energy, it's done by the spirits and it is not needed thoughts. One reason. The second reason is when we touch someone, especially someone that we do not have intimacy, whether friendship or relationship, the person becomes very, very uncomfortable to feel touched by someone that is unknown. That's another reason. Other reason that we cannot touch the person is because many times we don't know what this person has gone through in their lives. Can be sex abuse, can be physical abuse in any way. So when a stranger touch them, especially if they are in their eyes closed, can be very uh, detrimental to the person if the person is not able to focus and be connected with the energy. If we understand that we are energy, that we do not need to thought, nor need to make a strong movements because it may also disrupt the moment as well. So we do not do anything that will impede the person to receive the energy it to become. At this moment, the person who is receiving the energy needs to be the peaceful position and situation possible so the person can receive some release. So if we have a lot of jewelry, for example, or watch that make a lot of noises, this also will disrupt the moment that we are given the passes. Always remind peacefully, calm, and we are instruments of love. So at this moment, we are provide the energy of our soul, likewise the spirit, and it's very powerful, is not need to touch. The laying of the hands may be performed with one simple imposition or both hand double imposition. It is commonly utilized for the donation of a fluid or to separate the obsessors or any negative spirit influences from the patient. Always remind ourselves the passes at the moment that we are giving. We are at the moment we are separate the obsessor so the patients can receive some relief in rescue some strain so they can come to their consciousness and reformulate the new way of life with the distance of the obsessor. And also we can, at the moment that we are giving the passes, And if you feel that is needed, we can ask to the obsessors to leave the patients alone, because that will just increase the time that the obsessor will be suffering. Always remind ourselves, everything that you do to others, we will receive as well. Many times, if we do good, we receive much more than what actually gave. And if you do bad, you can receive 3 times worse than actually will have given. So it's so important to remind ourselves that the moment of passes, the balance that we receive this moment at this moment, so it will not last forever. It's just a tiny little break, so the spirit can rescue the conscious, the rationality, and continue the life. The passes is not a cure for anything if the person do not do the work. The passes is just a little help. Not when I say little, it's not the little of quantity, is the start, is the beginning of something new, but which really going to make the obsessors disappear or go detach, which make the obsessors detach, and what make the person become healthy is actually the work that the patients do. If the person is sick, seek help with the doctors if it's physical illness. If it is mental illness, emotional illness, look for therapists and so on. So nothing will dissipate itself. We need the resource of those professionals in order to get ourselves healthy. The passes is a beginning of something good to bring us to rational position and consciousness. But it just come to the center and get passes, it will not help. It's not enough if the person do not change their habits. If the person is addicted, it's great that the is addiction to sex, drugs, whatever is gossiping, whatever is the reason of the person addiction, food. If the person do not make a strong effort to change their habits, it will not stop. It's because the person is receiving passes. What's really stop is the self-transformation, our self-changing, the negative behavior to a positive one. Importance of the mind. We cannot underestimate the importance of the mind. Passive giver, blocking, patience, repel. The patients must be receptive to the past process and well disposed to spirit improvement. If the patient is unwilling to collaborate in the general process, the results are temporary. This is especially true if he makes no effort to lead a Christian life. So a Christian life is do the best that we can to follow Jesus Christ's example. And here, the 5 movements of longitudinal paths. First, concentrate and pray while assume the position to commence the healing process. Second, place your hands over the top of the head, the crown center of force, which is the top of the head, and move them downwards until you reach the base, which is the plexus chakra. Third, Open the hands wide in order to release the negative energy, as we see the example in the third example, and displace and remove during the second movement. As you see here, the person in the process of to say give applause. Here the person is giving applause from the chakra, from the chakras to the crown chakras and come into to the plexus chakras. Is always in the front chakras. And then they remove and put the hands up as the energy dissipates. And then the person therefore close the hands and return them rapidly to the starting point, which is the lay on the hands and restart the passes. As you can see, the pass giver starts again. Once the pass is finished, close your hands and leave the arms away from the body. So you remain in this position. So that is how we give the passes. So next class, if everyone is in here, we're going to practice again. But always remind ourselves that this is just the techniques, how should be done. But how we do it, it's very specific to each individual. Longitudinal passes. Passes are used to move and distribute fluidics to separate entities from the perispirit of the patient. In case of somnambulism, to aid sleeplessness, to people who suffer from insomnia. For many reasons, passes can be very much benefits. As a technique, the longitudinal pass is the one that is given to the patients along the body, starting at the head, going downwards to the toes or to the areas that need assistance. The hands should remain open and the arms outstretched, but without any contraction and with the necessary flexibility required to execute the movements. Recommendation to the pass giver: doctrine, knowledge, and balanced behavior. Always remind ourselves we are not saints. We have our faults, but also we are not incapable to serve and love others. So we can, while we continue working towards progress, we certainly must serving, because it's serving others with love and compassion that we find in strength to change our negative behavior. Good mental and physical health. It's so important for the one who gives the passes being a positive balance, good mental and physical health. Emotional balance. Imagine someone that's very complaining about everything. So this person is a emotional imbalance. So it's not a positive thing to this person give a pass to other. It's pretty much like how a blind can lead another blind. It's important for us recognizes who we are, working on ourselves and serve. But you say, well, I find myself not in great virtues. None of us are. But some days we find ourselves in more geared towards negative behavior. If you get up in the morning and you felt angry, irritated, that day you cannot give passes. It would be very hard to the enlightened spirits to connect it with us. It's humbly to say, unfortunately, I didn't have a good day this morning, or I don't have a good day today. I cannot give passes. It's much better act this way. It's much more respectful to the work than actually serving without have the necessary fluidity to share with others. The person must have desire for inner reform, exercise self-control, faith, and deep trust in divine power. We all know that many times we find ourselves in a weak spot, but our faith in God must be always, despite what we go through. We must have a faith in God and Jesus Christ. Preparation of the passes giver, nourishment. Be aware of discomfort caused by excess lack, sleepiness. Reading, help to concentrate, inherence of positive image. It's a day that we are serving. It's important for us to have some balance, have awareness of the responsibility of that day. So have a more light food, drink a lot of water, prayer, open the mental channel, attunement with good spirits. Always remind I'm connected today with the good spirits. Let make easier so the good spirits will be able to connect with me better. Just a second. Thank you. Another thing, behavior, attire, what to dress. You dress something comfortable, you something that's not provocative, sexy, because if, for example, is a women who are very provocative dressed and give a pass to a man or whatever, that the way the person being dressed can be also um, distress for one who is receiving the pass, or it's hard to focus and be calm when it has something so close to us and exposed. So it's important to have a common sense, to have dress normal, simple, and respectfully. Always remind ourselves that we are going to help Christ and we're going to the center. We are not going to the club. So we're not going to the bar. So we must dress ourselves respectfully. I'm not saying that you should have all white clothing, all yellow clothes. It's not that. Dress with some respect. Always remind that you are in a position of serving and we are not the center of a attention. Adornment. If we are the ones who likes a lot of necklace and bracelets and a lot of things in our body, uh, also it can be disruptive at the time of the passes, the noise, the shinings and so on. It's important to do everything to help. At the moment of the pass, just remove, put in your pocketbook. After you can put it back again. Talking at the center, we must remain silent. uh, we spiritists, we like to have a connection direct with the spirit. In order to do so, it's important that we remain silent. It's easier for the environment, it's easy to cleanse. Every time that we are talkative, we may talk about things that are unnecessary, that's hurtful, and the environment would be very polluted with negative energy. So we are in the center. If we come to work for 1.5 hours or 2 hours, I think as a adult and mature people, we come here because we want to help, because we want to learn, and because we want to transform and change. So this is also part of the exercise. Remain silent, respect the environment. Every time that we are at the center, the silence is a core for the communication of the spirits. The task of passes. Passes must always be given in a state of lucidity and absolute tranquility. The passive giver must be in good health and with a perfect discernment so that they can act as agent and not as a patient. For example, it's very common when we are given the passes, we see the spirits that are by our side. When I say the spirit, you can see the obsessors that is obsessing the spirits who are given the passes. And also you can see guardian angel, you can see enlightened spirit. At this moment, we must have a self-control. At this moment, act like a sojourn of a very delicate surgery part. Imagine that we are doing the surgery in someone's heart. So anybody can show up there. The doctor will not be disrupted by that moment because the doctor is so focused and doing everything that he or she can in order to the patients have a positive surgery. In other words, all the attention of the doctor is related to the surgery and the patients. Every movement that this doctor do is with a great uh, rationality and self-control. The doctors know exactly what they're going to do next. Likewise, the helpers, the assistant, the nurse, the assistant nurse, the anesthesian, the equipment, everything that's are there, it's connected with one another. So whoever's showing up there at this moment, the doctor not even notice because that focus is in the patients. So, and I'm sure at moments of surgery, is spirit showing up to help the surgeon, but they not even notice, or even members, family members of the person who received the surgery, they not even notice because it's such a part of their job. So likewise is the passive giver. Focus on what you are doing, or is reminded at this moment you are an important piece of this service. And it's important for you to be lucid. It's important for you to be present. Imagine that you are of the person that is there giving the passes, is suddenly that beautiful spirit show up and you start to going bananas. For the, I'm sorry for this expression for because I have not all the word. You start to be delirious, in other words, not connected to what you're doing. Complete let it go. So it can happen, spirits can come and show up themselves in different way. Spirits can metamorphose themselves. How so? They can change their body type, style. Many spirits, they have such a that they have such detrimental envelope, corporeal envelope, that they even look like animals. But we know that it's a spirit and it might can shock us. We should not shocking by the situation. We are serving God at this moment. If we are focused, if we are connected to what you are doing, we have all the assistance of the spirit realm to help us. What can represent a hindrance to the work? Tiredness, corral at home, indisposition, sadness. All these are facts that can happen before we are going to the center. We can be all day super tired, sad for no reason, woke up sad. Today I'm not going to the center. I'm so sad. Therefore, I'm not any help. So no, if you chooses not to give the passes, but it's important that you come to the center to create a habit so the spirits will not have control over you. So also it's very common to have disagreements in home before we are going to the center. So why that happened? To stop our service. So we need to be aware of all the things that can happen at the day. We can even make a note, the things that can happen. So when going to happen, say, wait a minute, today is the day of a service. I cannot engage myself in this conversation. Who do we have this conversation other day? So the benefits of it, you're getting self-control, able to sleep over and be more aware what is the topic. And it's not that you let it go. It's not that you ignore the need of your partner or your child. It's not that. It's recognized that that moment you chose to help, to serve, so you cannot engage yourself in situations that can be disturbing and will affect the quality of your working. So we are in paragraph 43 and is 6 after 9. And let's all of us connect ourselves and pray for Lisa's family, for her father, for her uncle, and for Lisa's as well. So each one of us, we can say some words of love and peace. And the final, we all make us a minute of silence so Lisa's father can receive the love that all of us are sending to him. Whatever he is certainly continuing to serve and aid his daughter. That is the reason she's in here today. I'm going to start with the prayer. Then Michael, the second. Christina, are you able to, where's Christina? Are you able to give the prayer or you can't?
I don't think she's on. I think she's working.
Okay. Okay, Michael. Então, I'm going to start the prayer for Lisa's family and you finish, okay?
Yep.
All right. Let's allowing ourselves to be embraced and loved by the spirit realm. At this moment, we humbly ask our Virgin Mary, our Mother Mary, to assist Lisa's father, to help him to aid him, to guide him throughout this transition. May he feel the love that all of us emanate for him. May he perceives the assistance of a good friend. May he be ready to initiate his studies, or his treatments in the spiritual realm. May he feel the affection, the pure sentiments that his daughter has for him. May he accept our gratitude for the time that he spent in this school, the school of life and love. May he continue his journey with the certainty that all of us will be together. And also, would you like to extend this moment of love and fraternity to Lisa's uncle? As the grief can be very deep in his heart, and he may not even able to discern it. It comes, the anger, the grievances come out as rebellions, insensitive to the pain and grievances of others. May his heart feel the love that all of us send to him. May forgiveness be present in all our lives, and also in Lisa's family. Thank you, dear Prince Mulford, for being here tonight. You please, Prince, assist our brothers and sisters in need, those that we can reach, and those who are forgotten by us. Help us to always remember that everyone in these planets are important. No matter what they have done, in some level, they have contributed to our society. As Joanna de Angelis says, no matter who we are, we always have something good to give. So let's live this way. Let's love unconditionally one another. And so be it.
Você pode me mandar o slide de hoje à noite?
Posso tentar, tá bom?
Só a foto assim no celular mesmo, só os 3. Foram 3 que eu perdi, não foi?
Eu não sei qual que você perdeu.
Os últimos 3 que você falou hoje. Foram 3 ou 4 slides.
Ok.
No celular mesmo, porque eu vou ler de novo isso aí.
Ok.
Estou fechando a loja agora.
Tá.
Tá?
Ok.
Só os últimos 3. Eu não sei se você falou, foi 3 ou 4. Você só tirar o celular e manda para mim, no meu direto, por favor. E eu tenho uma cliente que ela tá.
Why are you talking Portuguese? Why are you talking Portuguese?
Yeah, I have this client who was in trouble. She's a model, and a lot of ladies next to her committed suicide. And your first prayer is exactly what we're talking. So she wants to be part of it. I send her information, Gabi, to add her online.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So just add her, please, in the group.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So next week you're gonna start to put the names of the people in a notebook that you're gonna pray for that person that day. Okay.
Okay, dokie. Lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So
Good night.
thank you so much, very much, everyone. And Christina, I think I'm gonna put in a group with these slides, okay? So thank you so much, everyone. And until next week, all right? It's a great pleasure to be here. I love you all.
Love you too, guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.